Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Keeley Hagan from Colorado State. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Your season's wrapped up, and I'm sure you probably are going to some tournament this weekend, recruiting, because I think there's a billion girls showcases for everybody. So, on the recruiting trail, are you mostly looking at 24s right now? Have you wrapped your 23 class? What does that kind of look like when you start really talking to players?
Yeah, I mean it's we're definitely mostly on to 24s. You never want to close the door because for us, if there's someone out there that can help us and we have a spot, then we'll definitely take a look at them for sure.
Yeah. In terms of tournaments, are there kind of the must hit, must be at events that you go to each year?
Yeah, I mean I think the top two leagues right now in the country are ECNL, which have been around for a little while, and then the Girls Academy. So those are kind of the main ones that we start from, and then from a local standpoint. Anytime we can get out and around to watch our local teams in Denver or even in Fort Collins here, that's something we definitely do.
Okay. Now, are camps a big part of your recruiting process, whether that's your own camps or you or your staff working other camps? What's that look like?
Yeah, so camps are definitely a huge recruiting tool. We've actually picked up one young lady from a summer camp and some of our ID camps as well. So we host a handful throughout the year, and I think it's important for young ladies to identify, hey, what are my top five schools potentially, and can I afford to go to camps because they're expensive? And we understand that as well, from a price standpoint. But it's just like a glorified unofficial visit, really. We're able to do camp tours, or I mean, campus tours. And then obviously talk a little bit more in depth about our program, show them some of our athletic resources. On top of that, they're able to play in front of us and get that kind of exposure that you obviously don't get, kind of that individual, um, just being in front easier than the showcases. So for us, we definitely encourage young ladies to attend as many camps as they can so they can do their homework on the school, figure out, hey, is this a good fit for me? Is it not? Do I like the coaching staff, how they coach? Because at the end of the day, you want to be at the school. If you didn't play soccer, do I like that feel? But then you're going to be around the team a lot, which we encourage our young ladies to work the camps because that helps them learn as well. And then do you like the coaches? So those are kind of my three prongs of, hey, when you're looking to make a decision, you want to be able to have those answers pretty solid.
Oh, that's great. Well, whether it's at a tournament or camps or anything else, what's your kind of hierarchy of things that you're looking for in a player, whether that's on the field or off the field stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I learned from one of my mentors is, do you want to play against them, right?
Like
And
that.
that's kind of when you're watching on the field, you're like, oh man, I wouldn't want to play against that young lady. And obviously, there are attributes that fall into that category. I think um, attribute number one is from an athletic standpoint. You're going to improve athletically. We've seen a lot of young ladies come through our program who are kind of an untrained athlete in the sense that they haven't really been in the weight room, they haven't been exposed to that. So from that standpoint, your vertical jump can improve quite a bit. But once you start to get more trained, you certainly have a little bit of a ceiling when it comes to athleticism. Also learned that if you don't have speed, you're chasing it. So you definitely want to be able to notice a young lady that is fast and speedy, and not all of them can be that way. So if you aren't necessarily fast, it's what else can you bring to the game that can separate you. And one of the things that we constantly talk about really at all ages is how comfortable are you on the ball, right? How is your technical ability on the ball with your first touch? Are you scanning? Are you looking before you get it? Do you have a plan? Because really at the collegiate level, everybody's athletic, right? And the next separator then is how's your skill level on the ball, and that's a big one. Of course, soccer IQ is the big one, and I think for our program, for me, it's another separator is your mentality, right? So if you lose the ball, what do you do after that? Right? Are you gonna sprint to get it back, or are you just gonna kind of put your head down and be like, "Oh man, I made a mistake"? Really, really big difference in the type of player and their mentality. So those are the things we look at. Are they also good teammates, and you can see that on the field. You know, are they giving positive energy? Are they giving high fives? Are they communicating on the field? So a lot of those intangibles are just separators at the next level.
Oh, absolutely. Well, in terms of recruiting, how much do you guys look into international players, and how much has the transfer portal kind of come into play for you guys?
Yeah, so I'll start with the international player. You know, I think Colorado State's a unique spot where the Californians, that's obviously not international, but if they're going to get away, we have the mountains and we have a lake, right? Well, it's very appealing also to Canadians, especially Vancouver, because it's a very similar feel. Not saying that it's the same, certainly, as Vancouver, but it just has that draw from an outdoor standpoint. And it kind of an adventure area, because you can do, you know, the mountains are 2 hours away from skiing. We have a reservoir 10 minutes from here that everybody goes paddleboarding, wake surfing. And then, of course, we have the foothills of the Rockies where you have any number of hikes that you like. If you love, there's trails everywhere. So if people like that. So I think that's a draw. So from an international standpoint, when they see that type of terrain, they're like, oh, this is kind of a cool spot. So for us, we're not shying away from any opportunities to bring any young lady from anywhere. I can't specifically talk about the players that we have, but
Sure.
you know, across the board, New Zealand, Australia, I think they've been developing their young women and their leagues, which has been great. Obviously, Europe is pouring more money into the women's game, which is allowing for some of those young ladies to come over. The Scandinavian islands, I mean, it's so for us, it's obviously we need to do our due diligence, check out the video, make sure, hey, we're vetting as much as possible, because as much as it is a risk for them to come here, obviously it's a risk for us to take them, because we want them to come and make an impact right away and kind of bring that international flavor that I think is really good for our American culture, as you see in the NWSL and even in the World Cup, just the differences. The next part is the transfer portal. In short of the wild, wild west, I think there's like 1,000 in there now. And so, you know, for us and being a new head coach here, it's, you know, it's actually been a great resource for us. Again, you really want to do your due diligence, because why are they leaving? When are they leaving also matters. And especially with new transfer portal rules, you know, you just got to be careful. But there's certainly some young ladies that I think it really helps, that, hey, they have 1 or 2 years left. Those are more of the ones that we're targeting, really, that just want to play, and they were at good programs, and maybe they're a good player, but maybe they were just behind a superstar, right? And they just never really got that chance. Those are certainly the players that we're looking to pick up. And it's every day you're looking at the portal and reaching out, and just as you do in recruiting, you're casting a big net, right? And you know, that's what we encourage the young ladies to do is, hey, you know, you got to reach out to people, and then as it starts to narrow down, then hopefully you'll get the right fit.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. Just in case folks aren't familiar with Colorado State, you mentioned the fantastic location. I've driven through once or twice, but what are some other really cool things that you found that's a really good draw that's great about Colorado State?
Well, I'll give you a little backstory. My husband's in baseball, and whenever they have a opening day, it's like a big deal in baseball, and not
Yeah.
as much in soccer. So my first ever opening day gift that he got me, because of, you know, for soccer, was a longboard. And just to kind of give you an idea, that's really our campus. And I'm not a longboarder. I've never grown up on a skateboard. I feel really cool that I actually have one. But it just kind of gives you an idea of how campus is set up, that you can longboard through our campus. It's a biking campus. There are paths all through campus. It's basically 1 square mile. So most people walk, ride bikes, longboards. And then the crazy people have those one wheel little machines that fly by. And it's like, you got to look both ways, or you're going to get hit. But from that standpoint, just very outdoorsy community. You know, the athletics are all in kind of one general area, and then the academics are in another general area. So it just makes it really easy to navigate from that standpoint. You don't feel like it's too large. It's definitely like a medium style campus. And then the town itself, you know, when I first got here, I was actually pleasantly surprised at I didn't know a whole lot about Fort Collins in general. Again, I think there's like 180,000 people. But we do have like a Lululemon, a Torchy's Tacos, one of those nice dine-in movie theaters, which for me, that checks the boxes there. So, and again, the fun part, I'm a lake person. So, 10 minutes away, we have a Horsetooth Reservoir, which is a 7-mile lake. A lot of our players love to go out there, get on the paddleboard, kayak, boats, everything. So you kind of get the best of both worlds of, hey, like, let's go hiking, and there's tons of hikes. We can go biking for miles and miles on the Poudre River. You can do whitewater rafting, which is nearby. So really, if you're like an outdoors person, and the best part is the sun shines about 300 plus days here. So although we're sitting in winter and I'm looking at snow, the sun is shining, the sky is blue, and 36 degrees doesn't feel like 36. And I feel like I can say that coming from Texas. So, I was pretty fearful for the first year, and I just said, you know what, I'm not going to talk about how cold I am. I'm just going to wear 15 layers. And sure enough, I acclimated over time. So,
Yeah. I feel the opposite, but the same down here in Florida, so
yeah.
I get you. Well, I know you just wrapped up your season, but can you walk me through what a typical week, big picture would look like for a player in terms of when's practice, their classes, meals, travel for games, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and going back to my glory days, I think part of being a student athlete is embracing the structure, right? And it's all about time management. And I think we're human beings, and we love routine, or at least most of us do, or at least we do well in routine. So in the competitive athletic season, which for us is fall, Mondays are typically the day off. Not everybody does Mondays. Some other schools do Tuesdays, but we do Mondays day off. Tuesday, Wednesdays are, essentially preparation days for game Thursday. And then Fridays, obviously recovery day, Saturday, preparation for games, Sunday. And so within that, depending on, we particularly trained in the afternoon because that's kind of the time that we play. And it also worked better with everybody's schedule. So depending on how big the roster size is, it's like a jigsaw puzzle to figure out, hey, who has classes when, especially when they get into their junior, senior year, the class options just start to get more limited. And so we really don't want people to miss. So they would go to their classes in the morning, obviously eat lunch, and then our training time started at 2 o'clock, and it's typically a 3-hour time block, which includes film on the front end, just from a teaching perspective. And then finish around 5, if not before. Some people maybe had a class at 5:15 or 5:30, and then they'd go home and eat dinner and basically hit repeat. So obviously, if we had games on Thursdays, we travel on Wednesday, and then you're gone for the whole weekend because of the Thursday, Sunday schedule. So that certainly made it challenging for missing schools. And our conference changed just this past year from Thursday to Sunday. Was Friday to Sunday. So obviously just you got to be organized from a school standpoint and be on top of your stuff. And so many institutions have resources to be able to help young ladies with that, which is great because it's a lot.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, you mentioned a second ago about managing roster size. Is there an ideal roster size that you're trying to hit each year with?
Yeah, I mean, for us, yes. And I think every school, has certain parameters or stipulations. My general rule of thumb is it's really hard to keep the bottom, third of your roster happy because ultimately their role isn't probably what they want, meaning they're not playing a ton or getting any minutes, right? So the bigger the roster, in my opinion, the harder it is to manage. I think somewhere around the mid-20s is kind of the healthy range because you have to account for injuries as well. And that's why at the end of the day, everybody on the roster has significant value, whether they think so or not, and whether they're playing or not, right? It's when you go into a team environment, you have influence, positive or negative. So really trying to teach young ladies, life lessons of when you get out into the working force, you want to be that person on the workforce or in the team of wherever you're working and whatever your company, that people are excited that you're going to be on their team, not, oh gosh, here comes Susie, like who knows how she's going to be. So those are the lessons that I think when you have a smaller roster, you're able to manage that a little bit better.
No, absolutely. Well, can you talk about your staff? How big is it? What role does everybody play?
Yeah, so I have three staff members, and that includes a volunteer coach. And then we obviously will have an athletic trainer, so that's not included, and our strength coach. We all, I think again, a lot of institutions have nutritionists, so we have that as well. Just kind of those external resources that help everything run, right? But within my immediate staff, I'll have an assistant coach, shares LaChapelle Hansen. She just got married, so I had to change that in my brain. She actually played for me at Texas, and had been in the coaching ranks in high school for Texas and had done really well. So I was able to steal her away from there, and she came with me on board right away. And coaches anywhere on the field, which is awesome because she has that versatility. And then my other recent hire, he's not quite been here for a year, Josh Purdom. He's our goalkeeper specialist coach. I think it's really important. This is just my philosophy in having an actual goalkeeper coach on your staff, because it's such a specialty position. And if you don't have a good goalkeeper, that makes it really tough. So for me, they'll get a significant work. And especially in the spring, obviously in the fall, they'll be implemented into our team training a lot because we're preparing for games way more. But Josh works with the goalkeepers and then also additionally the back line.
Okay. Awesome. Well, can you talk a little bit more about your specific style of coaching and the team's style of play?
Yeah, our style is to win. I kind of I say that lighthearted, but ultimately that's why I was hired. The game's been really good to me personally in terms of checking the winning column. I'm a big believer in the process. If you do the process right, the winning is going to take care of itself. At our program, our staff goes to work every day and we talk about our 3 C's. That's character, culture, and competitiveness. And character is, getting the right young lady in here, right fit for us, and is going to do the right things on and off the field. From a culture standpoint, culture is simply how you treat people. Relationships don't stand still. They're either moving forward or backwards. And obviously we want to really implement a positive culture where young ladies know what it's like and how to treat their teammates. And it's so big because our sport obviously is a team sport. But ultimately you've got to take care of yourself first so you can be good teammates. So really educating young ladies on that. And then the last one is competitiveness. It's for me, that's the fun part of coaching and kind of why you play is you get to compete and sharpen your edge and develop and grow and push people. And at the end of their career, you can just see how much they've grown because of that competitive environment that we put them in. So, I think from a playing style philosophy, I think every coach would say they'd love to play like Barcelona. At the end of the day, we want to have an attractive brand. We don't want to just smash it. That's kind of one of the things our staff's been lightly joking about, because certainly there are times when you need to be direct, but we want to be direct with a purpose. I think at the end of the day, if you can get the ball in behind right away, why wouldn't you do that and create a 1 versus 0 or 1v1 environment, right? I think the second piece is if you can't do that, just be purposeful in possession and have players on the field that can be decision makers, right? And I don't want to have robots. And I want young ladies to recognize what the defense is doing. How can they exploit them based off of their skill and their teammates around them, know what kind of runs need to be made based off the situation. So those are the types of things that we're training in. It takes time. I think that's the thing, this past season definitely wasn't the results we were looking for. We had 8 ties. I think we're a couple ties off the record. But that's what happens when you're going to get rid of, the golden goal. I think we saw that across the country. There were far more ties. But at the end of the day, like from a positivity standpoint, I was happy with the brand of soccer and how we were improving. And again, just our young ladies growing and taking those concepts and principles that we're trying to implement within how we want to play.
No, that's great. Well, Coach, you've been generous with your time. I appreciate it. I always end these the same way, and that's what didn't we talk about? What else is there that you want folks to know, whether it's about the recruiting process, about the school, about your team, or anything else? I leave you with the last word.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think at the end of the day, it's, I'm very privileged to be in this position and very grateful for the opportunity. And as I said, the game's been really good to me. And at the end of the day, it's about managing these young ladies to help them become strong women so they can be leaders in the real world, as we say. And I think that's the legacy that we're looking to leave here at Colorado State, and a lot goes into that. And it's hard, it's challenging, but if we do the process the right way, then as I said before, the wins are gonna happen.
That's great. Well, Coach, we wish you the best of luck this offseason in the recruiting process and look forward to seeing what you guys do next season. And if you're at the coaches convention in Philly, January, please swing by the table. Love to meet you in person and wish you the best of luck.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.